I just am like a big believer in the fact that like no matter whatever's out there, no one has your voice or like nobody is you. So even if somebody has put something out there already, you should still do it because you have your own unique spin or your own unique perspective or your own unique experience or whatever that you can bring to that thing. So even though, yes, there are other branding checklists out there, mine comes with its own perspective or my own way of writing that might help somebody understand it in a different way, or my unique way of structuring things. Like it's just might be slightly different to someone else's. So just always do it, even if it's already out there.
Hey everyone, welcome to Your First Digital Product, a show that helps maxed out service providers create their first digital product so they can gain an additional income stream, grow their impact without increasing one-on-one work, and experience more time freedom. On the show, I talk to business owners who have launched digital products and dig deep into how you can create, launch, and market your first digital product. I'm your host, Renee Morozowicz. Let's go. Hey everybody, today I'm here with Hollie Arnett, and Hollie is a brand strategist and coach for creatives, and she's on a mission to help creators build their brand, grow their audience, and share their work with the world. Hey Hollie, how are you?
Hi, I'm so good. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm so excited that we were able to connect and do this. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about you?
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, as you said, I'm a brand strategist and coach for creatives. I am a creative myself, and so I've started my journey as an artist, and then that kind of developed and pivoted and, transformed as it does into what I do now. But my love of creatives and helping and collaborating and working with creatives has never changed. And so, yeah, I just love working with them and helping them achieve their dreams of like just being able to create more and being able to do that through having a brand that lets them do that. So
Yeah, for
that's
sure.
about me.
Yeah, that's awesome. How long have you been doing that?
I've been doing that now for 3 years, probably. I've had my business for 6 years now,
Okay.
but it started as a hand lettering
Oh,
business.
wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
then kind of turned into doing like hand lettering logos, which
Ooh.
then turned into doing brand identities, which then turned into doing brand strategy, which then turned into doing brand strategy and coaching, which is what I do now. So it's been like a journey.
Yeah, I love
But
it. I love it.
yeah, but I'm still that like typography, hand lettering artist and nerd at heart. That's something I like will always love, and one day would like love to get back to doing that as my own like art practice. But yeah, it's just has led me to this beautiful place that I am at now. And
Yeah.
I just don't want to stop doing this either. So yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing to be able to help people do what they want to do and share their gifts with the world. Like, I think it's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. That makes my heart so happy.
Yeah, it's good. And it's
Yeah.
nice to wake up. Like, people talk about like the Sunday scaries, like, that feeling. I don't know if you've
Mhm.
ever had that feeling like on a Sunday. I definitely have
Yeah.
on a Sunday when you're like, oh no, Monday's coming.
Mhm.
And it's nice to not have that. Like, it's nice to
Yeah.
just be like, it's another day.
Yeah, for sure. Part of my job as a brand strategist is helping people figure out like their why.
Mm,
And that's like, I love that I know my why so much is like so much is of it is that I believe so strongly in like creativity and
mhm,
the power of creativity and how much we personally need creativity and also like the world needs creativity. And so for me, that's such a like driving factor. So even if I do get a little of the Sunday scaries or like just general business
mhm.
scaries,
Yeah, right.
um, I'm like, well, it's like that's what keeps me going because I'm
Mhm.
like, no, I like these creatives need me. The world needs these creatives, and I need this. So yeah,
Yeah.
it keeps me going for sure.
Yeah, I love that. That's so important. A lot of times we don't know, or we kind of have this like imposter syndrome type feeling of like,
Mhm.
oh, why me? And I think that's just such a great testament. Like, you're here to help people do what they love so that they can help other people. Like, I think that's really powerful.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, let's talk about digital products because that's what I love to talk about. So I know you have a couple products up now. I'm not sure
Yeah.
exactly how many you have, but tell us all about them. But tell us specifically about the first one, like the first one that you launched. What was it? What problem did it solve? Who is it for? Is it still alive? All that good stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so I have a bunch there now, but the first product that I ever launched was actually free. It's not, well, there's a few versions of it now, a
Mhm.
free version and some paid versions, but it's called the Ultimate Branding Checklist.
Okay.
And when I launched it for a few different reasons. One is that I just knew I had like all this knowledge that I had shared in like all these disparate places, like on social media and like Instagram posts or
Mhm.
tweets or like,
Yeah.
all these different places. And still so much that was in my brain. And I
Mhm.
was like, I feel like if I could compile this all together, it would be so helpful. And also, I'd seen like a bunch of other sort of branding checklists, but they were either like just focus on a segment of branding, like
Mhm.
just the brand identity, or maybe a little bit of strategy, but I felt like they were missing so much of the whole picture, or they didn't explain anything. And so I
Mhm.
was like looking at all these other options and being like, this is so frustrating. I'm frustrated as like a branding expert, and I could imagine if I was looking for branding information, I would be frustrated because this wouldn't be the complete picture,
Mhm.
but then maybe people wouldn't know that, and so I was
Yeah.
like, "I need to fill in that gap and be like,
Mhm.
this is the complete picture. This is the actual ultimate branding checklist. Like these
Mhm.
other ultimate lists or complete lists or whatever are not complete lists.
Yeah.
They're missing like all this information and all this context and all this like backstory and everything about branding." And so it's designed for people who are like DIYing their branding, so
Mhm.
doing it themselves and maybe just getting started or they've just started their business and want to work on their brand but don't know where to start or don't know what they need to be doing or need to be working on and maybe need some help understanding what goes into building a brand.
Mhm.
So that's what the checklist is. It started off as just a PDF, like portrait PDF
Mhm.
download, and yeah, it did super well. Like, even I had that original version that launched in 2019 up until last year. So 3 years of just the same PDF,
Mhm.
and it got over like 1,000 downloads, I think.
Nice.
So yeah, and like that's like, well, was more than half of my email list at that
Mhm.
point came from that checklist. So yeah, it did
Yeah.
pretty good.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So,
Yeah.
I have lots and lots of questions. So, I
Yeah,
think
go.
it's super interesting that you looked at other checklists because I think sometimes
Mhm.
what happens is that, we're thinking about doing a product, we think, we have something and we go to look at what's out there and then immediately feel like this, like, oh, they've
Mm.
been doing it longer. They look like they have more audience or more design or whatever, whatever. And I love, love,
Yeah.
love that you were like, no, no, no. All of these are inferior. I will put together one that is superior. It will
Yeah.
be the real ultimate. I love that. That is so awesome.
Also, I just am, like, a big believer in the fact that, like, no matter whatever's out there, no one has your voice or,
Mhm.
like, nobody is you. So, even if somebody has put something out there already, you should still do it
Mhm.
because you have your own unique spin or your own unique perspective or your own unique experience or whatever that you can
Mhm.
bring to that thing. So, even though, yes, there are other branding checklists out there, mine comes with its own perspective or my own way of writing that might help somebody understand it in a
Mhm.
different way or my unique way of structuring things like it's just might be slightly different to someone else's, so
Mhm.
just always do it even if it's already out there.
Yeah.
Obviously don't copy things, but like bring
Yes.
your
Right.
own voice and
Mhm.
way of doing things to
Mhm.
something even if somebody's already said it before. That's okay.
Right. Yeah. I like kind of think about it like teachers. Sometimes like in school, you would have a
Mm,
teacher that you really connected with, but other students, maybe didn't have the same experience. We have the people who resonate with us, about the topic that we're talking about. And yeah, so you are needed. Creating your product and getting it out there, is needed for people. So you mentioned the DIY crowd. So a lot of
mhm,
people, I think, don't love to work with the DIY crowd. If you are a service provider and you work with clients one on one, the people who have that like lower budget and maybe want to DIY they're known as more difficult clients. So
mhm.
do you find that like the the expectations of the DIY crowd and the price point that your products are, like, is all acceptable? Do you find that people are like, "Hey, I need more, I want more," or, what is your experience, I guess, with working with a DIY crowd?
I haven't really had that experience yet. I have products that are available for different people. My DIY products are for those people who are you have that smaller budget and need kind of less or are ready for less like
Mhm,
one-on-one support.
mhm,
And then I have kind of like more high touch, high cost one-on-one or like smaller group experiences that are for people who are ready for that. And so I haven't really had that kind of crossover experience too much, which is probably good. I don't know.
yes.
But like I had an experience yesterday, which was amazing, where I was on a call with somebody talking to them about working with me one on one.
Mhm.
And she said, one of the reasons that I was super excited to talk to you specifically is because you're so generous with the
Okay.
information that you have.
Mhm,
She was really thankful that I had given her all this information already that she
mhm.
that she had used to DIY stuff or to learn or whatever, and now she's talking to me about working one on one. So like it works both ways, I think,
Mhm.
and doesn't have to be a bad thing giving away
Yeah.
things for people to do things themselves. And like part of the reason that I create a lot of these things for people to DIY is that I have this kind of like really strong belief that like anything you do to work on your brand is amazing. And there's kind of like this in the branding industry in particular, there has been, I don't know if it's like not still there anymore, or maybe I just don't see it because I kind of muted those people, maybe left that kind of sphere, but, like, there
Yeah.
was kind of this attitude of, like, you have to be spending tens of thousands of dollars or and hiring somebody to do it for you, otherwise it's not worthwhile or it's not good
Mhm,
enough or it's not gonna last you or it's not gonna do
mhm.
the right job, and that just kind of annoyed me.
Yeah.
I was like, "Yeah, like, yes, the branding strategists and designers and like, people like me deserve to be paid that money and like they're worthwhile and that's amazing. But the people, not everybody can afford that or are in
No.
the position to do that or,
Mhm,
they're starting their business or they
mhm.
don't have the privilege to be able to afford that or to
Yeah.
be in that position. But that doesn't mean they can't do amazing things. It doesn't mean that we can't support them or give
Mhm,
them tools that enable them to still move forward and to empower them to take their own brand into their own hands and to do some
yeah.
awesome things. So I'm like, how can I best support you? Yes, you're not ready
Mhm,
to work with me one on one, but what can I do to support you and to
mhm,
give you the tools to, set you out on your own journey
mhm.
to do as much as you can, whether you come and work with me afterwards or not. So yeah, that's why I'm like, what can I do?
Yeah, for sure.
How can I support you on your DIY journey as much as possible? So yeah, I get a little riled up.
That's good though, that's good. We all were starting at one point, and unless you
Mm,
came from, I don't know, maybe a career where you had banked all this money and then you started to be a creative and then you could afford
mhm.
that from the get-go, like, I feel like that's the minority. Most people, I
Yeah.
think, do a lot of, like, bootstrapping at the beginning and, you don't pay for things until you really need them. Just
Mhm.
because, like, that's a fiscally responsible way to go about it in
Mhm.
these types of careers, I think. So, yeah, I think having offerings for that DIY crowd is great. And then, yeah, maybe later or in the meantime, you stay in touch with them. Maybe they're on your email list or they're getting more of your
Mhm.
products. And then, yeah, maybe later they're ready to work with you, and that's fantastic.
Mm. Yeah, that's the
Yeah,
goal.
for sure. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. So you mentioned that you have both a free and a paid version of the checklist. Can you talk about that?
Mm. Yes, for sure. So last year I launched the version 2.0 is what I
Mhm.
called it, of the checklist. So basically it was like a complete overhaul of the checklist, well pretty much a complete overhaul. So it was like I took the content that was in there before, I like rewrote all of it. So I added stuff,
Mhm.
rewrote stuff with like all the new knowledge I'd learned in the past 3 years, restructured a bunch of stuff based on like my new like I have like a framework of how I explain branding. I redesigned the whole thing because I have a new brand identity now. And so while I was doing that, I was like, okay, maybe I can also like relaunch it with some additional options to like add some more value to the checklist, because I have a bunch of different resources that I think will elevate the experience of the checklist. So there are 3 paid versions of the checklist. So there's a starter version, which has template versions of the checklist built in like Notion and Airtable and Trello, and also has a quiz. So you can take the quiz and it will tell you like where you are in your branding journey, so that then you can look at the checklist and only focus on that part of the checklist. So yeah,
good.
thank you.
Good stuff.
I thought it was very cool.
So good.
Because like the checklist is like, it is a complete 100%, like this is everything you could do in a branding project. So like it's quite a lot, which is cool, but it can be like, whoa, this is a lot. So the quiz is quite cool because it's like, okay, this is everything I could do, but what do I actually need to focus on right now? Like if I'm in the phase where like my brand strategy is the most important thing I need to be doing, okay, this is the section of the checklist I should be focusing on. And the checklist is also ranked in like, what are the things that are must-haves, nice to-dos, and like only worry about it if you have like loads of extra time.
Okay, I like that.
That you really want to be doing. So that's the starter version. That's only $30. So that's like a upsell to the checklist. Then the standard version has all of that plus videos, like trainings. So for every section of the checklist, there is a training that teaches you about that section of the checklist, about like what goes into it and how to do it and all of that stuff. And then the third tier is the strategy version, which is all of that plus a strategy session with me. So yeah, those are the 3 tiers. So I launched that and I've had like a few sales of the first 2 tiers and none of the last one
Really?
so
Wow.
far, but that's okay. But I, to be honest, haven't like pushed them as much as I would have liked to yet. But yeah, I just thought it was like cool way to like take the checklist to the next level. You can still download the checklist for free, just the PDF, and most people just do that. But yeah, if you want to kind of like take that learning to the next level and like really implement it or really learn or like dive a little deeper, there are these 3 other options too. So yeah.
Yeah, I like that. And I like that it really gives people the option on price too and commitment. So yeah, if they have time to watch the videos and if they want to work with you, you have a lot of options in there, but it's not just like 4 different products. You didn't create just 4 separate things. You took something and then you built on it, built on it, built on it, and then people can pick where they are, what they need the most.
Yeah. And I like fully cannot take credit for this. It was fully inspired by Nathan Barry. He's the CEO of ConvertKit. I think the first digital product he ever launched was an ebook, and he did a similar thing. And he wrote a Twitter thread all about how he was like, I missed out on $10,000 or something by not doing this. And so he was talking about how he added like packages to his ebook and did a similar thing. And so I was like inspired by that. And so props to Nathan for the idea.
Yes.
Because it makes sense. Like, people are downloading this freebie, and then if they find that really valuable, or even before they've downloaded it, they're like, oh, well, yeah, I want to learn more, or I already know that like I value Hollie's expertise and I know it's going to be good or whatever, then they can invest in the higher tier options. So it makes a lot of sense. Like even just having them there, even if I don't push them, there's the option, right?
Yes.
Like someone might just land there and be like, oh, I'll do that.
Yeah. And from a logistics standpoint, so they go to download the checklist. Are you saying like, oh, hey, do you want these things before they download it, like a tripwire? Are you doing it then? Or I guess, do they download the checklist and then you kind of in your like follow-up email sequence, are you saying those other things?
Yes, both.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, so it's set up in Podia. So currently I host them in Podia. So on the Podia website, they're set up like on the page as options, and then also like as upsells. And then also in the email sequences after, like if somebody just downloads the free version, they will get an email that says like, hey, did you know you could also get the templates and the quiz and all these other things that will help you like get more out of this checklist. So
Yeah.
yes, both.
I like it. Yeah, I like it a lot.
Yeah.
And I think like not to like discourage people because that probably is a lot to set up, but just kind of like having that inspiration. Once you launch your first thing, you can do these other things with it. You can add on to it. You can try to upsell it right away. You can, nurture it in your sequence based on what people have done. Like there's a lot of options in there. And I think it's nice to hear people, talking about the different things that they've done and the different paths that they've taken.
Yeah, for sure. And like, it doesn't have to be a lot to set up. Like, yes, it's a lot to set up because I have 3 different options. But like, if you just had one upsell, like say I just had the starter option, that wouldn't be too much to set up. Like, especially in Podia, if you use Podia, like an upsell is really easy to set
Oh,
up.
nice.
And then in ConvertKit, like setting up a sequence is just like, setting up 3 emails or whatever is super easy. And then you do it once and it's set up forever.
Yes.
So like I love that about email automations. I'm like, thanks the Lord.
Yes.
So, I love the fact that it's just like yes, there's a little bit of like upfront work to do, but once it's done, it's done and it's, you don't have to touch it again unless you want to make it better.
Yes. Yeah. And ideally you don't touch it. And yeah, ideally you're not like messing with it all the time. Like, yeah, you want to give it a chance to do its thing, give it a chance to run and, see what's happening and kind of get that feedback later. Yeah. I think some people are like, they launch and then they're like, you just, kind of like helicoptering around it. Like, just let it go. Like, obviously market it. Don't just not talk about it, but let it run. Like, let it do its thing.
Yeah, collect the data, learn.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Whenever you decided that you wanted to create that checklist, did you just like sit down and knock it out and then, get it up right away? A lot of people kind of like overthink it or they're like, oh, I don't know how to do this. Or like, what about like the creation process and like the launch process? Do you have any thoughts about, I guess, what happened for you?
Yeah, I find like the ideation process not a problem for me. I can think about like 1 million ideas for you tomorrow. That's like it's a problem in itself, the fact that I have too many ideas. I found the checklist, I kept putting off writing it. I don't know why. Like I actually love writing. It's something that like actually before I decided to get into design, which is what I trained in, I thought I was going to be an English teacher or like something to do with writing. I loved writing. I write blogs, I've done guest blogging and stuff like I love writing. So I don't know why when it came to the checklist, I was procrastinating.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it was like I just wanted it to be right or be good or like was putting my expertise out there and so felt like it had to be a next level or something. I don't know. And it's weird because I put blog posts out there and don't have that same problem. That's weird, but I managed to do that, so that was good. And then I quite like marketing, so I don't really have a problem with that. I think like I weirdly I find it easier marketing free things, which I probably isn't that weird. That's probably normal. Like I can tell you about the ultimate branding checklist freebie 1 million times, but telling you to pay $30 for the starter version.
Yeah. Left so.
Yes. I talk about that a lot less, but yeah, so there's probably like some money mindset or whatever things going on behind the scenes to do with that.
Everybody.
Yeah. But there's also like part of that is also strategic because I use the free version to get people on my email list. So like I do talk about the free version a lot because that grows my email list. There's an interesting strategic situation there. That's probably a summary of the creative process of getting it out there. The writing is probably the hardest part. The latest one, especially like being so thorough, like it actually is quite long. So like it wasn't just like, one page with like 10 bullet points. It's like 30 pages of like actual paragraphs of information. I like pride myself on good quality, so I really wanted to do a good job. And so I wanted to sit down and like make sure I was focusing on it
Yeah.
and doing a really good job and writing good, useful, informative, well explained
Mhm.
things that were actually going to be really helpful. So yeah.
Yeah. Nice. How did you pick Podia? Were you already using it for something else, or did you just kind of like look around and you're like, I picked this one?
Wasn't using Podia in the beginning. I think I was hosting the checklist just directly in ConvertKit in the beginning.
Okay.
But then I actually started launching more digital products, so like paid products, I want to say a couple of years ago. And so I needed like a
Hmm.
shop front that I could host all of my products and have like a full site where I could make like discounts and all of that stuff. And this was before ConvertKit's commerce
Hmm.
came out, which I maybe would use now, but even that doesn't have like a shop front per se
Hmm.
yet. And so when I set that up through Podia, that's when when I launched the version 2 of the Ultimate Branding Checklist, I then moved it to Podia and set up all the different versions on there. So yeah, that's how I started using that. And it
Cool.
has like I chose that as well because it has good integrations with ConvertKit, which I'm using for
Hmm.
my email marketing and stuff. And like it has a really easy to use shop front and like
Hmm.
the UI and stuff's really easy to use. So yeah, that's why I started using that.
Yeah, it's really important that the things work together with things that you're already
Mhm.
using. So if you're already using ConvertKit, yeah, picking
Yeah,
something that like really painstakingly will get your buyers over to that, like that's no good. Yeah.
yeah,
So definitely
yeah,
picking
exactly.
something that is easy to use and nice and smooth and simple, like that's the best.
Yeah. From what I have experienced and kind of heard, like I think it's easy to use from
Mhm.
the customer's perspective too. That's really important for me as well.
Mhm.
And so like that makes me happy. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm happy with that.
Yeah, I like it. Very cool. So, do you want to tell us about some of your other products that you have out now and then on maybe the next one or kind of just like all of them together? Or what other things do you have to offer?
Yeah, for sure. So I have 5 others
Nice.
now, and then 3 of those can also be bought in a bundle.
Okay.
So those 3 that I just mentioned were the next ones that I launched. So they are called the Creator Clarity Bundle. So you can buy them separately or as a bundle for writing your mission, your vision, and your values. So they're
Mhm.
just like a collection of resources. They each have a guide and a workbook and some like examples to help you do that. So they're just, yeah, a collection of resources and then you can buy them as a bundle. So that's awesome. And then I have the brand strategy kit for creators, and that is basically a brand strategy template which also guides you through creating your brand strategy. So it has like an example brand strategy through it and
Mhm.
it has tips about creating your brand strategy, and it's a Canva template where you can put your own brand strategy into there. So that's pretty cool. And then I have Pinpoint Your People. So that is again like a course and a collection of resources that helps you to find, like, uncover and understand and engage your ideal audience. That's probably the one that I'm like the most proud of right now.
Mhm. Yeah.
It has just like it's the latest one and the one that I feel like has like, I don't know, the best resources in there currently.
Mhm.
They're all great though.
Yeah. Yes.
And yeah, so that will guide you through, yeah, uncovering who your ideal audience is and then understanding them and figuring out how you're going to engage them. So yeah, those are my current digital products.
Nice. Awesome. So, how are people, I guess, meant to like consume them? Like, are they kind of linear where like they should start with the checklist and then go from there and then these other products? Or is it just kind of, they can get any one product? Like, I guess as a collection, how do people look at them or how do you want people to look at them?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, so the checklist kind of is like the umbrella, I would
Hmm.
say, that sort of like introduces you to everything.
Hmm.
It's like the overarching, like, here's your introduction to branding and like everything that's included. It
Hmm.
gives you like the overview of everything. And then if you're like, okay, cool, now I understand that and I figured out that I want to focus on my brand strategy, which is where most of the other products sit within the brand strategy phase, then okay, I'm going to focus on my vision. Then you can go and get the vision product. Or I want to focus on my people, then you could go and get the people product and then that would help you with that. And then the brand strategy kit for creators is more like that will help you with your whole putting all of your brand strategy into one template.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Are there other pieces then that you haven't created yet that you'll create later? Like other
Yeah,
things that
that's
okay.
the plan. Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, so hopefully there'll be many more products to come,
Mhm,
but not immediately in the
mhm,
pipeline at the moment because I'm working on other things.
yeah,
But yeah, that's the plan, is to have at least like brand strategy covered because that's kind of like my
mhm.
main focus, to have like resources for most things involved in brand strategy. Yeah, that would be ideal.
Nice. And how do you know it's time and this is what's next? Like, does it just come to you or do you kind of like, have an interaction with someone and think like, oh, you know what? People really need this. How does the
Mm.
inspiration, I guess, come to be? Or how do you plan? Like you said, not right now. Not that you have to say exactly when, but
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
how do you kind of plan these products over time, I suppose?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think there's a few ways to figure out, well, that I figure out like what to work on is, yeah, like what am I hearing or
Hmm.
getting questions about or seeing people talk about. If people are asking either on social media or in like my group coaching program all the time or in my one-on-ones or things like that, like if I'm getting repeat questions about
Hmm.
things, then that's something that I'm like, okay, people are not sure about this. So that could be really useful to create a product around. And then also if I'm finding that like, or if I just like get inspiration or I'm like, oh, actually, this is something that I use all the time with like my clients or in my program that people find really useful, then that could be a good product that other people that are not in these one-on-one containers or experiences might find useful, then that's it could be a good option. And then in terms of timing, I guess it's just about what other things I have going
Yeah.
on. Like right now I have like a group mastermind that,
Mhm,
and I just launched that. And so that's my main focus, is like continuing to, it's kind of like an evergreen system. So just continuing to sort of build that and grow that and figure that out. There's only so much capacity I have in my brain. And so I have like the capacity for only a certain amount of projects at a time, I guess. So I often will just like map out my year or map out
mhm.
like quarters at a time and figure out like, okay, what projects am I going to work on? And when can I fit in like a launch
Yeah.
or a product or project to like build the thing and do all
Mhm,
the launching and all of that stuff. And I try and avoid launching things around like the end of the year as well
mhm.
because people are just not
People are
interested.
no, they're out. They're checked out. They're like, "Ah, year's
Yeah,
over." Yeah,
especially
yeah.
like on like our side of the world in summer, December just doesn't exist. It just everybody checks out. It's summer.
Yeah,
We clock out for like 6 to 8 weeks
nice.
and everybody's gone.
Yeah,
So there's just no point. So yeah, that's kind of how I
yeah.
plan it out. Will just like look at a calendar of the year and go like,
Mhm,
okay, I just need to plot things out,
mhm,
see when I'm going to be like, if I'm going away or the
mhm.
other life things happening. When do I have like other launches going on or other things planned? Do I have big client things going on or whatever? And sort of like, it's like a jigsaw puzzle.
Yes.
How can
Yeah.
I kind of puzzle things together to make these launches fit or
Mhm.
these products fit in a way that's not going to be overwhelming
Right.
and going to be make the most sense for
Mhm.
me and for my audience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How long did you normally allot for, like, creation and launch of a product? Like, would you fit that into a quarter or
Yeah.
how
I
much?
usually could fit it into a quarter, I think.
Mhm,
It depends on the kind of
mhm,
product. Like, I don't know if you would call it a product, but like the program I just launched took longer than that
mhm.
because it was like huge. Well,
Yeah.
felt huge anyway. And also just I had some life things going on that made it take a lot longer. But like a smaller product, like say one of the Clarity products I was just talking to you about, those
Mhm.
are a little bit smaller. Like I could do that in a quarter for sure. Yeah, it depends. And launches, I usually allocate like 2 weeks to like a live launch.
Mhm.
Yeah, usually a couple of weeks. So well, up to a couple of weeks.
Mhm.
I probably wouldn't be live launching for 2 weeks.
Is that like a week of like it's coming and then a week of here it is? Or like, is it all just like here it is? Like, do you do any like pre stuff that happens ahead of time? Like, it's coming, it's coming.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely try and do, like,
Mhm.
warm-up things, like,
Yeah.
even months before if I know it's coming, like, I would at least talk about, like, the topic a lot
Mhm.
more, or, yeah, we'll just show that I'm working on something new
Oh,
or
yeah.
things like that, or get people's opinions or thoughts, or get people involved if that's part of the process
Yeah.
for that particular product. Like, with the Ultimate Branding Checklist version 2, like, I got people's feedback from the first version, people who had downloaded the first version. I was like, I need your opinions on
Yeah.
the version 1 so that I can make version 2 even better, improve from the first one. So, like, I started that process a lot earlier
Nice.
and talking to people on social media and stuff a lot earlier because I wanted to know what they thought.
Mhm.
And I could start that a lot earlier too because, like, it didn't need to be a surprise because people already
Mhm.
knew about version 1. So, and I wanted them to know that version 2 was coming. So I talked about it pretty openly. So that was cool. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, you generate all that buzz, people know, like, and I think when you ask people for that feedback too, they feel involved and heard and
Mhm.
recognized and yeah, all that good stuff. Do you want to talk a little bit about if you have any thoughts about marketing your products versus marketing your services? I'd like to hear some people's thoughts on that because I think that it is way different to market the products versus the services.
I always find it a really fun opportunity to do like different ways of marketing. Like, with a service, I've always found it a little bit difficult because there's less things to show. Like, you can't have physical things really.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's you have to kind of make this intangible transformation, especially, like, as a
Mhm.
coach, you know. As a designer even, it was a little bit easier because I could show these
Mhm.
physical things that I'd made, like even a logo or whatever, it was a little easier. But
Mhm.
now as a coach, I can show you testimonials or like I can
Mhm.
tell you stories and things like that. But it's difficult. Whereas like when you have a product, it's quite fun because it's like, oh, I can show you all these
Mhm.
different parts of the product, which is cool. And so like with the Ultimate Branding Checklist, I had heaps of fun because I was like, I can show this. I can like print it out. I can put it on
Mhm.
a like mock it up. I had it on my iPad and I
Nice.
showed it on my iPad. I took photos of it. Like, yeah, it was a fun way to just show things physically or like in a
Mhm.
different way. So, yeah, I just think have fun when doing it,
Yeah.
marketing in different ways than you're used to marketing a service. It's an opportunity to break the mold, add a little bit of like variety to your content. It might be like something different for your audience too. Like if they're
Mhm.
used to you making marketing or making content in a certain way, and then you can show up with something a little different is always a good way to like break the monotony or, you know,
Mhm.
show them something a little different is cool.
Yeah, I think embracing that's a great idea because I do think that we kind of get comfortable in the marketing of our services. However that occurs, we've been doing
Yeah.
that for a long time and we're used to it. You know, we get on a Zoom call or whatever and we wow
Mhm.
people with the things that we say and you know, and the marketing is
Yeah.
different, but you know, having a product, you know, you're not going to do that one-on-one marketing, but you do have something to show and you can show it in different ways and you can show people using it and you can show all kinds of things because it's a thing that exists, you know, at
Yeah.
least digitally. So, yeah, that's a
Yeah,
great
yeah.
tip.
Yeah, that, like, user-generated content is cool too. Like,
Mhm.
that's something I've really enjoyed with, like, the Ultimate Branding Checklist is, like, seeing other people's photos of them using it. Like, I
Yeah.
remember when I launched the first one, and a friend of mine printed it out and got it spiral bound, and I was like,
Woo!
"That is so cool."
Awesome.
I was like, "That is amazing, I love that." And so just, like, having content from other people
Yeah.
is really fun too, and that's obviously we get that with services too, like, you know, people mentioning us and
Yeah.
testimonials and stuff, but it's a little different. It's slightly
Mhm.
different when people are, like, showing your product in a certain way is very cool.
Yeah, and it's also kind of unexpected, I think. You know, we kind of
Yeah.
expect after, you know, a big engagement and a service to get that, you know, juicy testimonial that we can put on our website or whatever. But the product, I think is, I don't know, it just feels extra special. When
Yeah.
somebody printed that out and spiral bound it, like, that would be amazing. What 2 to 3 things, and they could be things that you've already said or totally new things, 2 to 3 things you recommend for somebody creating their first product? They haven't created anything. Maybe they haven't started. Maybe they have an idea. Maybe they don't. Anything really.
Yeah, good question. I think something that I haven't mentioned and that I'm actually not very good at is like getting validation on things before you dive into them, because I am not good at this. I am like, I love to just have an idea and make it happen no matter what.
Which is
I don't
fine in
know
some
what
ways.
that, yes,
Yeah.
I don't know what that says about my personality
Yeah.
or whatever, but like I have a lot of fun putting these things together, and like it must like do something for my soul to be able to like have this idea and see it come to life and become a thing. But it's not very worthwhile when then like
Maybe.
nothing happens.
Yeah.
And yes, obviously you learn a lot during the process, and
Yeah.
like good things do come from it, but it would be beneficial if then people buy that thing or
Yes.
download that thing or
Yeah.
whatever. So yeah, I would do what you can to get some validation on those things, like whether that's getting a wait list or I don't know, having a beta group or whatever it is, to make sure that people are going to download or pay for that thing before you put in all the effort. That's something I definitely need to get better at before I put in all the work.
Yeah. It's so fun though. If you have an idea and you're like, oh, I'm really excited about doing this, it's hard to not do it. Sometimes I think it's hard to
Yeah.
not do it because you're like, oh, I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
yeah,
And
sales.
I struggle to let an idea die. And so like, I need to make it happen. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And yeah. So that would be my first piece of advice. And then what else would I say? I would say just try and have like as much fun as you can during the process too. Like I think there can be a lot of sort of pressure put on like creating digital products and launching courses and products and having these like sold out $10,000 launches and all of this stuff. And other people put pressure on us, but we also put that pressure on us, and it can be very stressful. And when we have these expectations of like how many people are going to buy or how much money we're going to make or how perfect it's going to be and all that stuff, it can make the process become not fun. And like then what's the point? Like
Yeah.
we're running our own business and doing these things because we supposedly love it.
Yeah.
And so like I would try and remember that throughout the process, that you're supposed to be doing this because you love it. And so if you're creating this product and it's becoming more stressful than it's worth, then maybe reconsider what you're doing or refocus on why you're doing it. Come full circle right back to the beginning. Remember your why, and just remember that like, yeah, try and have fun. Like focus on like having fun creating and seeing what you can make and talking to your audience and like engaging with people and seeing how people like it, and like just focus on the fun parts of it and try as much as you can, even though it's difficult, to focus less on like the stressful pressure focused parts of the process. Yeah.
I think that why is so important because I think a lot of times the why is because somebody told me to. Like maybe we don't admit that. We think it's because whatever, but the underneath why is I think I'm supposed to do this because I'm at a certain point in my career. I've been doing this for a certain amount of time, or this is the next step or whatever. And really, if that's the reason, I like just don't go down that path because it's a lot of work. And it can be filled with pressure and stress. And I think if you're not going to like it, that you shouldn't go down that way. But if you do have that why that you really want to do it, I always feel like at the end when I've created something, I'm like, this thing, like whatever that thing is, I'm like, I did this thing. And I think there's a lot of pride to be had in that too. And sharing the things that and hopefully you're excited about the topic. Hopefully you're creating something in an area that you are knowledgeable about and solves an important problem for people, which should be fun for you. So
Yeah.
yes, if it's totally devoid of fun, then you might want to think about what's actually happening and why.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, as I told you, I wrote like a 30-page PDF on branding. And so, like, if you don't find that fun,
Yes,
don't do
Don't
that.
do that. Yes,
Like,
exactly.
yeah, that was a lot of hard work, but like,
Yes.
I love that.
Yes.
And that was like, I was in my nerdy little heaven,
Yes.
writing
You're
stuff,
oh,
like all
thanks.
this detailed information about
Mhm.
all the little branding and details. And I was living my best life.
Yes.
If
I
you're
love that.
like, that sounds like hell to me,
Yeah.
then maybe don't do that.
Yeah, don't. Yeah. It's okay, you don't have to. Like, here's
Yeah.
your permission. You do not have to
Yeah.
do it that way. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it
And
doesn't work for
also,
you.
like, yeah, also the fact that, like, I found a lot of freedom in the fact that you don't have to do products in the way that everybody else has done them too. Like, just because I've written a 30-page PDF doesn't
Mhm.
mean you have to write a 30-page PDF. If you hate writing, like,
Mhm.
I saw somebody that I follow, she like loves speaking, and she made a product like off the cuff the other day. She was recording audio snippets in her car
Oh.
and just made a product, just recording audio in her car. And she
Mhm.
recorded like 15 audio snippets and launched that. Like,
Wow.
that could be your product,
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to take you months of writing. It could
Mhm.
take you half an hour of recording audio. It could take you whatever. Like, do whatever works for you and whatever
Mhm.
lights you up and whatever
Right.
feeds into your like strengths and whatever brings you joy.
Mhm. I totally agree. And you mentioned about freelancing or, owning your own business. I probably say this in every episode, but like, I feel like you kind of owe it to yourself. Like, if you're just going to be miserable doing the things that you're doing, just go to get a job and get health
Mm.
insurance and,
Mhm.
retirement. Like,
Yes.
you owe it to yourself to find the thing that is fun and exciting for you. And yeah, it doesn't have to be any one way. It doesn't have to be any one thing. It doesn't have to be a checklist. It doesn't have to be, it could just be whatever you like,
Mhm.
whatever your audience
100%.
likes.
Exactly.
For sure. Awesome. Yay. Well, thank you so much. So where can people find you online?
You can find me anywhere at Maker Moxie, but primarily right now on Instagram or Threads.
Oh.
And you can find me at my website, makerandmoxie.com.
Awesome. Yay. Well, thank you so much. And thanks for coming on today.
You're so welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, thanks for listening. I'd love to continue the conversation in your inbox. Email subscribe to hey@yfdp.show or sign up in the show notes to get bi-monthly emails about how you can create, launch, and market your first digital product. Can't wait to see you there.